Attention short bus riding liars. This guy's name is Takashi IIZUKA. His name is not LIZUKA. You people may not expect me to make a video like this, however the misinformation I need to tackle is so obvious that it should not take a language genius to know how profoundly wrong it is just to change the spelling of a Japanese word and twist made-up information by referencing an existing word to try to validate made-up lies. I am calling out unprofessionals that are making up misinformation about the Japanese language. So do not try to say, "Durr, you're not a language expert, durr," as a response, because that makes as much sense if a guy trying to answer a math problem got the wrong answer on it, then I come in saying that the right answer is 3 plus 3 equals 6, but then the guy lashes out at me saying, "Durr, you're not a math expert, durr." So there are some people going around misreading Japanese words or names of Japanese people like Takashi IIZUKA's name, or at least misreading how the English letters spell and how they are supposed to be read. They confuse the sans serif uppercase I in his name with the sans serif lowercase l, which would seem normal and one reason why I cannot stand the sans serif font because it can get people confused. Some of you would ask me, well that's it man, people are just confusing the letter, what's the deal? Here's the thing, I would have felt a lot better if that was the only case, but unfortunately that is too good to be true. There are actually people out there that truly believe that you are supposed to replace letters like I's in Japanese Latin written names and switch them with L's, and that Japanese words and names have a missing L's, so they think LIZUKA is a true English translation of Takashi IIZUKA's family name. Not true at all. Japanese words and names do not have missing L's. Since L's do not exist in the Japanese language, these frauds think that you can just add an L to any Japanese word or name, despite the fact that one does not simply add an L to a Japanese word. When it comes to switching L's, there are very specific requirements, but never do any Japanese words have I's replaced with L's, nor do any Japanese words ever add an L to them when translated. Looking at the internet results, when it comes to the Japanese language versus non-Japanese languages, the only times they switch L's from English words or words from other languages, they only replace them with R's. Yet there are no official professional Japanese language sources nor bilingual experts ever confirming that translations that switch I's are replaced with L's, especially not from Japanese words. The only results that show people replacing I's with L's are only random people casually spelling them incorrectly in their posts. And the reason they are doing that is because, again, they are confusing the sans serif uppercase I with the sans serif lowercase l. L's are switched only with R's. Furthermore, there are no real Japanese words that add an L to them. So even if real Japanese names have R's in their name, or an R sound, they do not replace it with an L when written in the English language. So even if Takashi's family name was Rizuka, his name would still not be switched to LIZUKA. Do you know what these short bus riding liars tried to use to validate changing IIZUKA's name to LIZUKA? They do not explain it with a Japanese to English translation chart or something like that. Instead, they foolishly reference something else while twisting it. An English word. A word that is not even close to them changing IIZUKA's name. They reference WARUDO.
This doesn't work that way!
There's two major problems with them comparing what they do to IIZUKA's name to their WARUDO reference. First of all, and the most obvious, WARUDO is not a word that switches I's with L's. WARUDO is based on the English word world, and the letter I does not exist in either of these words. So that is one reason why them referencing WARUDO is completely nonsensical and wrong. Secondly, the Japanese word for world is not WARUDO. In actuality, the real Japanese word for world, which uses kanji, is sekai. WARUDO, on the other hand, as I've said a moment ago, is an English word. What does that mean? It means how the Japanese pronounce English words. Real Japanese words use kanji, but when they spell the pronunciation of English words, they do not use kanji. They use a different text in their language, called katakana, which is used to spell non-Japanese words. So it is not like the English transforms WARUDO into world and adds the L back onto the word. It's the other way around, English to Japanese. The English language has more pronunciations than the Japanese language, so the former has letters that represents them, but it is not the same for vice versa. Why do the Japanese take the L out of words? Well, let's roll a clip from our good Japanese friend and YouTuber, George Japan, who is a real Japanese ethnic that is bilingual with English, and mentions how Japanese people turn L's into R's.
And katakana basically indicates the pronunciation of non-Japanese words. For instance, Michael Jackson is Michael Jackson.
Da. In Japanese, it means darui. Darui. Ah, very similar. But one thing you gotta take care of is this R sound. So in Japanese language, we don't have L sound and R sound. So L sound and R sound both become softer R. It's very soft. La, di, lu, le, ro. It's ra, di, lu, le, ro. So your tongue should be more relaxed and say ra, di, lu, le, ro. Okay? And please don't use American accent. So if you use American accent, it's gonna be like ra, ri, ru, re, ra. It sounds horrible.
Keep in mind that the word darui uses hiragana, which is one of the 3 different categories of Japanese letters separate from kanji and katakana. So there you have it. The reason why world gets turned into warudo is not simply because they take the L out of the word, but because 1. The L and R in the word are right next to each other, and they cannot just add 2 R's in there, so they soften the R and L sound together and spell it in their katakana text. 2 is because the real reason Japanese spell it as warudo is because it is spelled in the closest way possible in the Japanese pronunciation using katakana, especially if you base this word on the British pronunciation. Here you might tell me, but Darkstar, they do have Japanese kanji words that use L's, like Krillin and Lolakan. Unfortunately for you guys, no, that is wrong. Because these words Krillin and Lolakan, they do not use kanji. Once again, these words use katakana. Let me show you a chart of katakana characters. As you can see, these are the Japanese letters used to pronounce non-Japanese words. So let's look at another clip by our good friend George Japan. He mentions the 3 different letters that Japanese people use. Roll the clip.
In Japan, we have Japanese language, and there are 3 types of letters called hiragana, katakana, kanji. For example, when you want to say rain in Japanese, in hiragana ame, in katakana ame, in kanji ame, they are used different letters, but they are all same pronunciation. But actually, the functions of hiragana, katakana, and kanji are completely different. Hiragana mainly indicates the pronunciation of Japanese origin words, and katakana basically indicates the pronunciation of non-Japanese words. For instance, Michael Jackson is Michael Jackson. On the other hand, kanji conveys the meaning of the word. For instance, this and this. This is ame, and this is ame. So they are almost same pronunciation, but meaning of each kanji is totally different. So the first one means rain, the second one means candy. So by looking at this ame in hiragana without any context, we cannot tell which ame means. But when I look at kanji, I can tell whether it's rain or candy.
Now let's look at the Japanese spelling for these 2 words. Rorikan, Lolakan, Kuririn, Krillin. As you can clearly see, for words like these in the Japanese language, they use katakana letters, not kanji nor hiragana, which means that these words are originally non-Japanese words, unlike real Japanese names that do use kanji and hiragana, not katakana, so you cannot add any L's to any Japanese originated word or name, period. So once again, I have to repeat this. The only reason you search and find people spelling Japanese names with an L and I instead of 2 I's is because they are mistaking the sans serif uppercase I with a sans serif lowercase l. It is not because of some translation technique. That is it. Nothing that I have said in this video is a false statement nor an opinion. Everything said in this video is factually true. If you look up the things that I've said, any professional sources will confirm what I've said. So stop making up lies about the Japanese language, stop lying about changing words, and stop lying about references. Do not double down or triple down on it.
So get off your damage control, accept the facts, and deal with it.